Hello and welcome to the Life and Fight of a podcast. Simon, let's get into it. It's been a minute since me and you have been on our own. How's it going?
Yeah, good, mate. Had a couple of slow weeks, mentally, where I was sort of maintaining, but productivity-wise, as we've been sort of speaking behind the scenes, we've both got projects that we've keeping the wraps at the moment.
Well, I can actually announce mine now because when this goes out, an hour after we record this, I'm posting it anyway, so it'll be out. So you would have seen by now when this is out that I'm bringing back Empire Grappling Invitational. This will be behind closed door event on Saturday, July 25th. We've spoken to the professionals over the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks to see the do's and don'ts, what we can and can't do. And obviously with the recent events of Grapple Fest and Polaris, we now feel that we're comfortable with doing similar to them or more than them, not saying that they didn't, to make sure the event is safe for the competitors and the staff around it. And we're lucky enough as well that Grapple Fest have agreed, Chris Tomey's team are going to keep an eye on this event, and the standout grappler of the event will get a place on a future Grapple Fest card, which I think is a great highlight because this event isn't about the top tier like Grapple Fest and Polaris do. It's about the up-and-comers, the guys on the scene that me and you, Simon, have worked with for a long time, that I've been on Polaris before, that I've been on Grapple Fest, and UKFC vets, grappling vets, even pro MMA fighters. Obviously, now that the card will most likely be announced prior to this getting out anyway. Simon, you're on the event against Junaid Ebanks, who's a professional MMA fighter, great ground specialist, has fought in Africa and for EFC. Quick thoughts on EGI coming back and you being on against Ebanks?
Excited, mate. Love what you're doing with Empire and just the chance to sort of grapple and sort of go out there and play during this whole time period. Training's been next to nothing apart from actual physical training. So, and also I've been doing a lot of mental work with sort of match analysis, technique breakdown, watching a lot of matches and trying to keep my brain sort of sharp. So it'll be interesting to sort of go out there and grapple with the sort of a different kind of build up to it.
Yeah.
And I'm going out there for a finish. I'm not going to give too much away, but there's a lot of things that I've been sort of working on prior to this whole lockdown that I'm going to be looking for in this match. So I'm excited about it. And I'm excited to have the opponent of Junaid. He's a very athletic and very good grappler. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the card that we put together has been mainly to keep our fighters at UK Fighting Championship active because it's a big gap sort of between February and the October. We're sort of looking to come back and that's sort of where the idea came from. We can keep them active, but also keep the guys that do support Empire away. That's sort of where the card's sort of been built around, to make sure the guys that we feel like have supported us and reverse order as well, that we get them out there, we get them grappling, because not everyone can get on a Grapple Fest, not everyone can get on a Polaris and Third Coast Grappling in America and all that sort of thing. So we think the UK-based grapplers, which we've got a lot of good guys and girls, we're lucky enough, I don't know if all the girls' fights will be announced by the time this comes out, but we'll have 3 ladies' fights on this one, which for UK MMAs and especially super fights, this is a great thing to have so many female competitors active and game to fight. It's a difficult thing because you get girls that are of certain levels, but then they're not the same weight. So like we've seen with Grapple Fest, you had Tayani and Fionn go against each other, both legit black belts, 2 of the best ladies in the world going at it. And there was a massive size difference. But that match proved, just like we worked out in 1993 for UFC 1, that size doesn't matter, what Horace Gracie did. And Fionn proved it again. She didn't get the W, but the performance was unreal.
Yeah.
So that's what we will find at one of these. We've got a ladies matchup that's there's a bit of a size difference, not as big as it was for Tayani and Fionn, but there's one of them, and there's 3 or 4 up-and-coming girls that don't really get to compete on this scene because they've got sort of the name behind them, and it's difficult where we've got some other girls on there that have just chomping at the bit, just want to get out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an event I'm excited to sort of watch, but also participate in, and can't wait for it.
Yeah, one thing I am looking forward to most, and being a fan as well, is I'm always a big fan, and I've said this before on the leading up to the Grapple Fest, is I'm a big fan of seeing that the higher level MMA guys going against the higher level grappling guys, and we've probably got half a dozen, maybe a bit more than them matches where you've got literally MMA guys that probably fight 4 or 5 times the MMA, rarely do grappling comps, but obviously training actively like it is, and then against the high level grappling guys. So you might have a UKFC champion against a purple belt. That we've got 2 or 3 of them actually, which I'm really, really proud of, and I think that's a cool thing to have. But once the full card announced, we'll probably talk in a bit more detail. But I'm happy that I get to talk about that a little bit.
No, definitely. Like I say, we've been speaking off camera and whatnot about it, and yeah, I'm certainly excited about who's on the card and seeing it come to fruition as well, because I know how hard you've been working behind the scenes to get this thing together as well.
Yeah, we will be doing the sort of providing the PPE where it's necessary, doing temperature checks for anyone that comes in the building. We're going to do it live and free, streaming on either YouTube or Facebook, whatever one works for us on the day. We're hoping that the internet holds up so it is live and streamed, because that's what I think the best way to do it is. We'll have a commentary team. We'll have the right people, the right team with us, and professionals. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a great day on July 25th, and may that be the start of what July seems to be. Started with Grapple Fest, and then this weekend we've had Polaris and Third Coast Grappling return in America, and go from there really. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Sam, what else we got to talk about?
Well, before we get into the sort of obvious sort of event from the weekend, like it was a big connection. It was a big weekend of sport, especially in the grappling and MMA scene, and there was quite a few new style matchups, controversial decisions, and that's before we even get to the UFC card.
Yeah,
So one of the I was texting you about this, and I don't know if you got around to watching it, because like I said, there was a lot to catch up on. You had Submission Underground, you had the Third Coast Grappling, there was a Kasai as well as the UFC 251. And I only got around to watching UFC this afternoon. I watched a good 2/3 of the Third Coast Grappling before my flow connection started to get a bit sketchy.
I noticed that before, where it's like stuttering.
Yeah, like it was buffering a lot. I don't know whether that was just due to the amount I used on there. I've been using the Flow Sports app on my Fire Stick.
Yeah, I did it on my phone to my TV yesterday, and then I connected to one of my screens in my office to put it on just through the internet, and I just thought it was a bit jumpy. I just thought it was me. I had something open that was running too much, but now you're saying that makes a bit more sense. Maybe too many people were catching up from the weekend, like you say.
Yeah, like I was trying to watch, like I got to like the semi-finals of the actual Kumite tournament. I'll tell you what, there was some, so I've still got the semi-finals and the finals to watch, but on that card, like say before we get to UFC, there were some great fights. The quarterfinals, I can't remember the name of him. It was Guilherme, I think it was. It was on the other side of the bracket, the same side as Lucas Barboza. And that was a great matchup. Unfortunately, like my stream cut out through that, like stops during the actual matchup, but then the overtime round was brilliant.
Nice.
But I've got to say, the whole Royal Rumble style match that they had for the kids tournament
on Third Coast Grappling. So I heard little rumours about this, and I didn't know how it would work. And me being a wrestling fan, I was always intrigued, and I watched it earlier on. And yeah, it was fun, but like some of the kids were so lost in there. So for people that haven't watched it, we'll sort of explain. So just like the Royal Rumble in wrestling, 2 people start the match, and then a certain amount of seconds or minutes later, a fresh body comes in, and the wrestling version is you throw them over the top rope and both feet much touch the floor, and then you're eliminated to the last one standing. In this, they called it the Grapple Royale, where two kids started the match, and then it was just basically submissions. And it was a quick submission, and then the kid had a bit of a rest until the minute. And the next person come out, and they're sort of going against. And then a third kid comes out, and it's sort of, they didn't know, they were sort of circling each other until the fourth person came out because they didn't know if to team up. And then as soon as the fourth person team up, they started to make friends with each other, and it was tag team. And then it just sort of turned into a melee of jumping on each other's backs. It was fun.
I found it entertaining as a fight fan, but also hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, the one where the girl got flying rear naked when she was stood in the middle, and somebody just rugby tackled her from the side and jumped straight onto her rear naked. And there was another kid where he was in top side control, and someone just jumps on him, rips him off, and jumps into the rear naked choke. Then
it was the number one guy, the guy that came out first.
Yeah.
Won it. So we did a 1995 Shawn Michaels where he came in first, survived for everyone, waited, bided his time. When he got a break, he picked it. But yeah, after sort of when the final people with no more competitors coming in, it just turned into like just jumping in naked chokes. And
he was a savage, that kid, I've got to say.
Yeah, I completely agree. When that little wrestler came in, like, I think it was like the fifth guy in, it was like, this would get interesting. And he just took him out straight away, and it was like, wow.
His triangle transitions to arm bars, like, his guard was lovely to watch. I've got to, like, inside all that chaos, watching the way he worked his guard was great. Like, I was really enjoying that. And
I was scared that some kids' knees were going to pop the way they were jumping on each other. And I feel like it's less dangerous in kids because they are more flexible. I think if that was adults and adults' weights and different weights, like the biggest weight division difference in there was probably like maybe 4 or 5 kilos max. Yeah. And that was a rarity. Normally they should be looking about the same weight, give or take. But I think if that was in a sort of open weight sort of adult version, I think that there would be more injuries.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how it would work out, especially like, for example, say they had the 8 guys that were in the Kumite, like doing a grapple royale. I can certainly see knees and backs just being destroyed at the end of that match. Like, more injuries than actual submissions.
Yeah.
Like, what I liked, another thing I liked about it as well was the entrances. Like the kid that came out to the Undertaker music, and he had the mask on, and it's like, but you've got the Kane entrance there going on. Like, pick your wrestler.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Like, like I would love to have had one of the commentators know a bit about the wrestling background, because there was so much stuff you could have picked up on.
How did you know about the Stone Cold entrance music?
Yeah.
How did you know that? That's like more iconic than any other than The Rock in my eyes.
It was. I wish they had someone that knew a bit about wrestling. Like, oh, this is the Undertaker's entrance. This is quite cool, and maybe there should have been a bit more like of a like. One thing that did annoy me, and this is more of a promoter and safety thing, is I think when the Undertaker kid was coming out, the whole arena went black, and I thought the kids on the mats couldn't see shit.
No.
And I thought, how dangerous is that? I don't think they really thought about it too much, but they had fun. The guy, the promoter at the end, made sure it was a laugh and came over to commentary and said how awesome that was, and the kids were amazing, and everyone loved it. I would love to see more like that. I don't know if I would ever do one, because I don't think how easy it was to pull off, but it was fun. I would definitely recommend anyone to hit up. Is it on Flow, on Third Coast?
Yeah, Flow Grappling, the Third Coast Grappling's the latest Kumite. So I'm not too sure. I think it might be the third one.
Yeah, and one of the matches on there, was it Gordon Ryan against I forgot the guy's name.
Match. I believe so. I've not watched that one yet, but I believe that was like top of the bill.
Yeah, it was just, I think it was just after the kids match. So basically, it was a 10-minute match where it was sort of like an Iron Man sort of wrestling sort of vibe, where they both had 0-0 and it's most submissions won. I won't tell you how it worked out or anything like that, but it reminds me of my Sub North days, where I used to do it for experience, where it would be a 5-minute match and it wasn't over in the submission. So basically, submission outranked everything, but it was still a points match. So say you was 1-1 in submissions, but IBGF points, you had more points or more advantages, you would go through. And I like that because you get the experience at the 5 minutes. But that was pretty cool. It reminded me of sort of like kind of a wrestling thing. I'm shocked so many wrestling references within an event, but no one on commentary knew a fuck all about it. It's like, Third Coast Grappling, sort it out. You're a great event, but you missed the ball there.
Yeah, educate your commentators on it a little bit. It's great having the grappling knowledge for the commentators, but if you're going to have a theme for the for the event, bring someone in who's got that wrestling knowledge, even if they don't have a knowledge of the fight game. Just they can geek out on the wrestling aspect of it.
Yes, exactly. Completely agree with that. Other than that, you had the controversy of Craig Jones against Mason Fowler on Submission Underground, the main event. That's the only match I've got to watch from last night as of yet.
I've seen the clips though, but I've not actually watched the full match. But was it in overtime?
So you've not watched the match yet?
Not yet, no.
Right, so the 5 minute was quite Submission Underground orientated, where
playing the game.
Mason not really going for it. There was a few little moments, but no one really went for anything in that 5 minutes. And then in the overtime, Craig went first, so he got the body lock going through a naked choke, and after about 1 minute and 40 seconds, Mason Fowler sort of turned it around and got the escape. And then in the match, so in the other side, so when Mason had the back, he sort of did like a neck crank, and there was a bit of a grunt, moan, verbal, whatever. And in that first one, he got out of it like the last second, as I thought it might have been like a verbal tap, and he turned referee like, oh, verbal tap, but he carried on anyway. And then he got it again, and only got it again. He was trying to fight it a little bit, and he moaned a bit louder. And from one camera angle, it did look like he tapped, and the referee called it. But on the other camera angle, there definitely wasn't a tap, but there was verbal grunts and moaning there. And
like for me,
at my event, I would say it's over. But from what I've sort of seen on comments, I don't know if this is the truth or not. On the rule set, Submission Underground, unless you unless you actually physically say tap out, submit, moans are not part of it. So it's very, very controversial, but it goes down as a Mason Fowler win and new champion.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate for Craig in that, because like looking at it from a competitor's point of view, that they sounded more like groans and moans of exertion as opposed to groans of something's gonna break.
I thought it was pain moans. I thought he was in pain, but I don't think he was close to tapping.
I'm gonna get like a bit thingy, be like it's adding more discomfort than pain. Like there's something hurts, you're a bit like a bit more aggressive with it. But it sounds like he's just sort of grunting to reach post on the elbow and clear space, as well as like if you're exhausted and you're sort of trying to push through. I've made similar noises like that. Like, but then from a referee's point of view, because I've been on both ends of the scale, he should have had a word with him after the first time. If it's not the first time that he's been making them noises, he should have said to him, look, this could class as a verbal tap. But then the referee should know the rule set of he's got to say tap.
No, he did stop the fight because he thought he tapped, not the verbal, but it was sort of the combination that he thought he tapped and the verbal that pushed him towards it, because as he was grabbing. But on the replay, it was not a tap. You could tell it wasn't a tap.
See, like because a tap for me is 1, 2, 3. Like because they call it
Submission Underground. Just that I've seen it.
Oh right.
So that if you go, I understand, but the thing is, a tap 1, 2, 3. That's not even like a jiu-jitsu thing. That's a wrestling thing. That jiu-jitsu, if you tap, it's a tap. It's just one. All you need to do is one. That is literally the rule. You tap. It's called tap, not taps.
Yeah. The only thing with that is like, especially if you're in the midst of trying to grab something, as you're trying to push, something could be seen as a tap. That's where
what
I think there needs to be more clarity on 2 or 3. Because like most taps that you see, it's like there's more than one tap, because like there's the sort of running joke of the false tap of having one tap and then they'll release it and then going. So
that's like the grounded game, innit? So
yeah, that's been around for a long time, that sort of false tap. And it's sort of a bit dirty, but it's almost sort of been accepted as part of the game that more than one will be.
Yeah, I completely agree. But if you would go to the law of it, as soon as that tap happens, I've seen it more than often, and I've trained with a guy.
Like if someone sort of came along and did that, like, about okay, that's a clear tap because there's a big motion, whereas the Craig Jones, it wasn't a tap, it was trying to find the post on the elbow.
Yeah, it was the combination, like I say, of the moan and the movement, and it did look like it. And from one angle, I thought, yeah, that's fine. From the other, I was like, no. But you made a comment about the grunting thing. Craig was not moaning as in like he was tired of exertion. He's only been on the mat 6 minutes. It was a discomfort pain moan. And in the letter of the law outside of SUG, that's a verbal tap. Inside SUG, it seems to be it's not. It should be. Obviously, I'll need to read it. I might be reading a comment on Instagram, and I might be completely wrong. But like you mentioned before about the sort of the fake tap, we both trained with someone years ago who used to fake being asleep from a triangle just to get out of it, and that used to fuck me off royally because it's just dirty. That if you're in and you're tight and you can't get out, just tap and we'll just carry on. It's a roll. It's not like it's submission. And plus, if a referee seeing you do that, you're not going to go, oh, it wasn't really out. You're out. I've seen people pretend they were asleep before just so they can go, well, I didn't tap.
I was there at the event with at 24/7 when the guy actually kept fake, like somebody was in a guillotine and they kept pretending to go out to try and let the person let go of the submission, but the person that had them in the guillotine was playing to the referee, rightly so.
Yeah.
The referee saw them pretending and then coming back and then pretending and coming back. So when they actually went out, the referee wasn't aware.
All right, okay.
They ended up being out in a guillotine for, I think it was a lot longer than medically you're supposed to be.
Wow.
They ended up getting carted off. But for me, from a promoter's point of view, from there, I'd have been like, nah, you're banned from events. Like, you can't play like that.
Yeah, it's a dangerous thing. I think I know actually which bit you was talking about. I wasn't aware that he was playing that game beforehand. I sort of heard that he was trying to breathe through his diaphragm, and that's sort of the explanation he gave. Which, fucking hell, you're not a shark, you're not a whale. You know what I mean? You're not a fish. Yeah. You're a fucking mammal.
It don't make like because I'd heard it from people that were watching it, and from a third hand sort of comment from someone who spoke to the ref, and from all the information that I'd got from the spectators and the person who spoke to the ref, they were pretending to go out and then coming back.
Yeah. Well, it was controversial. I think you'll see a rematch there. That's the thing about the EBI overtime and the just the 5 minutes. And we've seen them, we spoke about before on submission grappling. It seems that a lot of them play that 5 minute game just to get to the overtime. And they don't, like, literally for the last 8 seconds of that match of the 5 minutes, they just like stopped. They both agreed to stop him. They stood up before the bell even went. And that wound me up. I was like, no, you play to the bell. You've got to be attacking for that constant 5 minutes, not you've just got to wait for the time to go because you didn't get it in the first 3 or 4 minutes. What's that bullshit about? But that's Third Coast, which was a fun one, controversial one with SUG. And then we move on to to UFC 251, which I know I spoke to you yesterday about this. I stayed up till 7 a.m. watching this. I paid for it a bit yesterday because I felt exhausted and tired all day. But it was one of them events that I couldn't physically not watch live.
No.
I'm a very avid fan of live sport because you don't get it secondhand. And if someone tells me a result, I'm most likely not going to watch it. But that's just me. We'll start off with the sort of the prelims of the fight. Was there anything? Have you watched prelims or just the main card?
You know what? I'm gonna full disclaimer here. I did what I said I was gonna do, and I fast forward the Paige Van Zandt and the Ribas match and watched straight from Rose right through to the final fight.
Right. I'll cover the prelims then.
So it was a busy weekend and it was just hard to get down and watch the fights.
So we first had a Brit in Davy Grant against Martin Day, and it did look Martin was in control for the first round. It was but it was close, and then the finish from Davy Grant, the knockout was brilliant. It was buzzing for Davy, and then you can sort of see. I don't know if you've seen the clip on Instagram where Dana walks up towards the cage and just goes, "Nice job, Davy," and he literally turns around to Dana and goes, "I broke my jaw on the first shot." Like, and you can see it like protruding the bone, like obviously not through the skin, but you can see it swollen there. Wow. So he was like, "Give me the bonus," and Dana's like, "Wait, what? You what?" So he did get performance tonight. So he's got 50 G's, baby, which is amazing. Especially in this time, it was a short notice fight for him. Everything that's going on, he's not been able to train as much as he would like, but he looked great considering there was a lot of hype before it from the guys in SBG and around the teams that are saying that wait until he gets out there. His hands look sharp. Martin looked good as well. No fault from him. He got caught. He went out, and it was a clean out as well. It was like it was like in the position of when the body gets chalked. So when there's a fucking homicide, that's literally the position he was in. But I enjoyed that for an opener, and then sort of we went 1, 2, 3, 4 matches in a row decision. I won't go into too much detail. So Carol Rosa defeated Vanessa Mello. Yeah.
Any standouts on that list?
Rolian Pavor and the Zalgas Zumagulov was a fun fight. That was one of 2 predictions that I got wrong of out of the 13 fights. So I got 11 out of 13 right. This one I got wrong. It was the only fight that I would have probably gone the opposite way, but I just had to make a decision, and I thought Zalgas would have come in. He definitely ended the fight strong. Pavor was very durable in this fight. It was a good fight. I enjoyed it. I'm sure this is the one. No, it wasn't. I'll come to this one next. So Pavor got the decision there. That was a good fight. Marcin Tybura against Maxim Grishin. Tybura just controlled that fight for the full 15 minutes. Got the nod, unanimous. Like, there's no even complaint about that. The next one, Dos Santos and Bogatov, was, I wouldn't say controversial, but in the second round, I'm sure it was. So Mark Goddard was reffing, and Santos was lighting him up where to fight, where Bogatov was running away. Like, literally physically running away. He was hurt. I think the fight should have been stopped. It didn't. Then Santos blew his arms out by then. And then Bogatov in the third round, because you could have argued that he was 2 rounds down. So Santos is against the cage. He's got 1 knee down. He's not playing the game at all where he's going up and down. And I could literally see it 5-6 seconds before. He's going to knee him on the ground here. And he literally just pelts his knee into his head. And Matt Goddard falls away and goes, "What are you doing?" Literally the words, "What are you doing?" Like, what a muppet. And then I was like, he's already been... before that, there was 2 low blows. So I was thinking, he's got to be disqualified now. He's not had any points took off him. He's got to be disqualified. But then Santos is like, "No, I'll fight. Let's carry on." So he gets a 2-point deduction in the last round. But he ended up losing like 29-26 anyway. So he probably would have lost the fight anyway. But it annoyed me that the fight continued in the second round. It annoyed me that after 2 low balls, it wasn't even a point deduction. And then after the knee, there was not a disqualification because it was a purposeful knee. It wasn't like he was up and down and playing. And it should have been DQ'd. I literally turned around to one of my mates I was speaking on Facebook chat saying, if this isn't a disqualification, it's a 2-point deduction. And there was a 2 points. It sort of give a bit more of a talking point though for UFC.
Yeah, I think maybe I can understand the decision for that is the current climate and everything. They're just trying to make sure that everything goes to decision if it can do, or like lets the fighters play it out how they wanted to play it out.
No, I agree.
If you ask the fighter at any time, do they want to continue? They're always going to say yeah, regardless of the situation.
If anyone or even you, Simon, get a chance to watch that back, I'd love to know your thoughts after watching it, because it annoyed me a little bit that it wasn't stopped in the second round, especially after seeing how much, we'll talk about later, Aldo's fight should have been stopped a bit sooner. It wasn't as bad as Aldo, but it was to a point where he was running away. Like, he didn't want anything of it. He wasn't running away to avoid strikes. He was running away and still getting lit up.
Okay.
We'll move to now Makwan Amirkhani against Danny Henry. This went exactly how I predicted. Makwan submission. I put that on my bet. Nothing against Danny. I just thought Makwan had that sort of level up from there, and he got the first round Anaconda choke, which was beautiful. Like Danny was out. He had no chance within that. I'd love to see what Danny does next in relation to what sort of fight they give him next to build him back up, because I just feel like this is a style clash for him. Next up, we had Muslim Salikov and Alizé Zaleski. This is a guy that you tipped in Muslim. It did, because you raved about him so much, it did sort of change my bet from Zaleski to Salikov, and Muslim did win by split decision. But judging the fight myself, I give it 2-1 to Zaleski. But I could have seen it either way, but I scored it for Zaleski. Both of these, on paper, this is a perfect fight, and separately, these two can go very far. Zaleski's power and his stand-up is great, and he's got good wrestling and jiu-jitsu as well. And as Muslim, he's got so much power. He's just more of a stocky sort of, like a Russian version of that sort of Gleison Tebow, not as ripped, but it's got that sort of feel like if he hits you, it's gonna hurt quite a lot. And then the last of the prelims, have you not seen this Ozdemir one?
No.
So this is, apart from that paver fight earlier on that I mentioned that I got that the wrong way around. There was no way in hell I was going to bet against Ozdemir because of who he is and what he's done and who he's knocked out, because no second or no minute Ozdemir or whatever he's called. This Yuri Projaska guy is like a light heavyweight version of Adesanya. And I mean, it's the way he moved, and he was joking with him and talking with him, and he was sort of holding his hand like it was hurt and then firing it from the hip and moving around. And at first I thought he's going to get knocked out, this guy. Ozdemir's going to find him. And then in the second round, Ozdemir was just walking towards him. I think he was frustrated by him. And literally turned to him and misses Catherine and went, he's going to get knocked out in about 10 seconds, Ozdemir. His head's too upright. He's not pivoting at all. He's just not. And then Yuri just bombed him. Second round, 49 seconds in, Ozdemir was out cold. And Yuri was like, apparently, from what commentary was saying, he's turned down a few UFC contracts before because he knew he wasn't ready. He said that when he signs for the UFC, he's ready to make that title run. And from that performance, he could possibly get caught out a bit like what Silva did against Weidman all them years ago. But he's a great addition to the light heavyweight division right now and will be fun to watch. People might not like his game and the way he is, but I think it's entertaining, and that's what you need sometimes in the cage.
Yeah. Try and get onto that fight and give it a go.
I would definitely recommend that, and I would definitely recommend the Amirkhani finish and Salikov against Zaleski and stuff like that. The prelims were quite stacked. So going into the main card, we had 8 fights, and I was 6 out of 8 at that point, which I'm quite happy about the prelims. See how the main card went. I was very confident about my decisions in the main card. Ribas against Van Zandt. Ribas is scary good. Like, Paige is good. Like, she's fought a few good fights, and the who's who in the sort of the divisions, building up the women's divisions around her and her name and stuff. But this Ribas, I think she won the UMAFs amateurs like 2015, 2016. So she did the mill there. She fought against good amateurs there. And then she's 10-1 now in the pro. She looks very good. She could be the next big thing in the flyweight division. I'm insane to see. And Dana's come out after the Van Sant fight and said that was the last fight on the contract. She should now, personally, he thinks, look at free market. And she most likely will go somewhere like Bellator and follow her husband, Austin. She will be a big miss for the UFC in relation to what she draws, because she has got a name behind her. But in relation to talent, she'll never be a sort of title contender.
No.
What do you think about the free market comment from Dana?
I think he's right in it. Like, unfortunately, I don't see her being a competitor against this new wave of female fighters.
Yeah.
Like, she's done great bringing the sort of eyes onto the sport and drawing attention to the female aspect of the sport. But it's kind of like the men's division went through this a while back, where sort of like this whole, I think he's a Canadian fighter. He's in Bellator now.
Right.
He's training. Yeah, it was around the time on his come up when they had the sort of change of the guard with the new wave of fighters sort of being the all-rounder rather than specialist.
Right, okay.
And I feel like the women's division's going through that at the moment, where sort of like the original lot who made the sport what it is today, they're kind of need to pass the torch almost to this new wave of female fighters who are the all-rounders and who are ready to take this sport to the next stage. Especially with like your Ribas, Ian Amahunas, even your Andrade, the 125 and 115 champion.
So you got Shevchenko and Wally Zeng. I always get that wrong the one way around, so I do apologize.
And with Nunes and even your Joanna Jurcheks, like there's a great roster of female fighters being built now, and unfortunately, the older generation of fighters are kind of getting lost in the wave now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I feel like the all-rounders or the people that can sort of stay in there will be the longevity of the women's divisions. Paige will most likely go Bellator. I think she'll make a lot more money there. Apparently she makes more money as an Instagram model or whatever she does on Instagram than she does fighting, which is crazy considering what she puts a life on the line in the cage. But to test free agency sometimes is a good thing because she can sort of see what her worth is. And she might re-sign with the UFC. They might come up with an offer that she thinks, I'm happy staying here, fighting twice a year. That might be a new contract because she wants to do films or whatever. But we'll get to the fights that you've actually watched, Simon. Call yourself a podcast analyst. So we'll let you start off with this one, Rose and Andrade.
Rose. Like, what a turnaround. I've got to say, like, Andrade, like, she did a great job. Like, and to be fair, this fight could have gone either way, and I wouldn't have been upset if it would have gone the other way.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, a massive turnaround in Rose, and you can see the difference in her mindset as well. Like, she comes out of the corner, I think it was in the second round or for the third round, she's like screaming, I'm the best. The feedback from her corner is exactly how any corner in my eyes should be.
Yeah.
Honest, but also positive reinforcement, and it keeps the fighter in the game. And just seeing the difference in her composure. And I think if you look at her, the difference in her from that in the third round to the first round, she almost found that flow state that she speaks of, where she's just almost like she's stepped out of her body and she's playing a computer game and everything's just sort of flowing perfectly with the counter strikes. And I was really happy to see that this Rose turn up. And it's great to see that it looks like from the outside looking in, her mental health is back where it needs to be and she's in a healthy place.
Yeah, I feel like this fight, like you say, could have gone either way. I thought both of them performed amazingly. It was definitely fight of the night, and it was given fight of the night. So there's a nice 50 grand each extra for them. Jessica is an animal and easily could just move up to 125, which might actually be a more comfortable weight for her. We've seen her fight Nunes at 135. Like, she could go to any weight division between 115 and 135 in my eyes. She could make 115. She's been champion at 115, so there's no reason why she shouldn't be there. She's lost by split decision here. She's knocked out Rose. She's fought the who's who in that division. So this is not a loser leaves town sort of match, a bit like what happened with Van Zandt. This is one of them where two top contenders have fought each other, and one of them's won, one of them's lost. That's the way the sport is. Rose looked great. Jessica looked great. I did give the nod to Rose, but like you say, I wouldn't have been argumentative towards the fact that Jessica got it. It'd be interesting to see what happens next, whether it's a championship fight for Rose against Zhali Weng. That's pronounced that. I probably said that completely wrong to what he said a few minutes ago, and I really need to learn that. And then Jessica, like, do you give her someone a few ranks down, or maybe a build-up fight for her and maybe someone else, or do you put her straight back in there? Maybe a Jędrzejczyk, maybe you do that again, I don't know. I always try and think of like Karolina Kowalkiewicz, but she's 0-4 in the last 4. She's probably on her way out. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But it's an exciting division. I want to see Rose do well again. I'd love to see Rose as champion again to prove that she sort of fought her demons.
I think she needs another fight before she gets put back into the mix for the title. More so to protect her as a human as opposed to a fighter. To sort of look after her mental well-being, make sure that she is in good health before putting her back into that limelight where the pressure of being champion could be detrimental to her.
Yeah.
So I do believe that she needs one more, but that's for her and her coaching staff to decide for that.
It's Wei Li Zhang. So I said Zhang Wei Li, so that's how wrong I was opposite. So it's Wei Li Zhang. Jessica was number 1 ranked. Rose was number 2, so she's beat number 1. So that could just be a title fight next. Maybe you do. Obviously, Nina Ansaros she's pregnant now. Her and Nunes are having a baby, so she's number 5 at the minute. Maybe Claudia versus
that'd be good, yeah.
Against Jessica, maybe. Tatiana Suarez, she's number 3. Maybe her against Jessica. Maybe you work that out that way. But it's an exciting division. Angela Hill is also climbing up there. Tisha Torres, Waterson, Esparza. It's a great division. The next fight we had, Petr Yan against Jose Aldo. So it went exactly how I predicted this.
Yeah, like I'm going to come out here. I've got an apology to make to Aldo if he ever hears this. Like I've been a bit harsh on saying that I think he's sort of getting to the end of his career, and I don't think he's going to be a serious title contender if this Aldo stays around. But he's certainly going to be top 5 fighter for a little short while as well. Like he faded after the 3rd round, but those first 3 rounds he looked absolutely brilliant. Leg kicks were coming back, his hands, his head movement, and you could see in the first 2 rounds, Petr Yan didn't know where he stood with him.
I literally put a status on saying if Aldo utilises them leg kicks, he will become champion. If not, he's not got a chance. And for the rounds he did, he's shown damage on Yan. He had to change his stance. But he just didn't utilise them enough. Like, I think one of the first leg kicks he threw, Yan sort of got the takedown, if I remember that rightly. But then after that, his confidence went a little bit, whereas I think if he used them more, whipped them inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks, even when he changed stance, I think Yan would have thought about even trying to do much against him, and Aldo would have took over, just like he did in the previous. I don't know what's in his head right now, whether he's had an injury to his legs or anything like that, or maybe a bone injury in the past that he's not really come out into fruition. He's quite slow on that aspect. I'm really not sure, because when he would kick 3 or 4 times in 5 seconds previously, and they would be hard, and you wouldn't even think twice. And you think if a normal guy did that, it'd be snap leg.
I think it could just be down to the way he's training. Like he may be that confident in them that he doesn't train them in his camps, and then because he gets out of the habit of using them in his camps, he's not going to utilize them in the actual fight.
And so they have trained together before, haven't they?
Yeah. So
that could be a massive.
I think even if they had trained together, I still think his leg kicks, like to the point where Yan changed stances and didn't have his left leg forward for a good while of the fight.
I agree.
If Aldo would have used his leg kicks for the whole fight, then I do think he would have took it. But I think conditioning, and maybe it could have been again, I'm going back on what I've just said about 2 minutes ago about he won't be champion. I think it could be conditioning. That was a major factor for here. Like, is he sparring the way that he could have been sparring? Is he doing the extra cardio work that he'd need to do to keep up with the younger, fresher fighters?
Yeah, I feel like this division is just like we spoke to Jack Shaw when we spoke to Brian and Aber the other day. This is a hot potato division. It could easily be. Like, there's been talks about what's next for Jan and the division. I personally think Jan versus Aljamain Sterling is the next fight to make. And then from there, you've got Cody Garbrandt versus Marlon Moraes. I would make that as a number one contender fight. And after that, you've got Corey Sandhagen, Jorge Alzo. You've got Pedro Munoz, which he's facing. Frankie Edgar, that was moved from this Wednesday because I think Pedro's coach tested positive, so that's moved to August now. A Sunshine just been beat, so maybe you do a Sunshine versus Aldo. Imagine that for a fight, both coming off losses.
That would be a really good fight. And the thing is, they're both not at risk of being dropped.
Oh yeah, of course not. But a Sunshine will probably leave when he feels like the time is right, and then Aldo will probably just retire in the UFC. I can't see him going anywhere else.
I would love to see that he retired at the UFC. It'll just be especially after this performance this weekend, I think it'll be the icing on the cake for his career, for retiring in the UFC on a high, or even after a great performance. Like,
he's only 33. He's literally only just older than us. He hit his prime very early. That's what we've got to remember.
I think as well in that weight division, I think everyone says the prime age is like 30 to 35. And I think everyone's forgetting that in those lighter weight divisions, speed is everything.
Yes.
And your speed will start to go down probably from 27 onwards. And if you're not fast, like in your 30s, it's going to be very difficult to be able to outmaneuver and be faster than a younger fighter in these weight divisions. So, that mid-30s peak and prime will be middleweight onwards, arguably some welterweight fighters. But
I think you're completely right there.
I think once you get to 30, you need to have something else about you to counteract the speed.
The division as a whole is exciting. I think you'll get quick turnaround fights with these. I think maybe by September, October, you'll see Jan defend his title again, which will be cool. Sterling will have the weight. He's only just fought a few weeks ago. Marlon and Garbrandt, that could headline most cards anyway. So who wouldn't want to do that? It was controversial controversial win against Aldo, but he's in the win column. Cody just knocked out his opponent last, so that fight is definitely fireworks. And if you put all them two fights on the main card and something happened in the title fight, any of them can step in, and that's what I think most cards should be built around anyway. Next up, we have the co-main, which is Alexander Volkanovski defending his title against former champion Max Holloway. Talk us through this one, Si.
So before we get too far into this, I'm a firm believer that if you're going to take the decision against the current champion, you need to thoroughly outclass them. For example, Usman did to Woodley. That's the most recent example.
As the nature boy Ric Flair says, to be the man, you've got to beat the man, and you've physically got to take it to someone. You've got to take that belt from them. Like in wrestling, it's obviously fake and stuff like that, and kayfabe, but you can only win by pinfall submission. If you get disqualified or anything like that, it's a bit different. But you've got to physically grasp that off you. If you want that and not put it in front of the judges, you need to finish the opponent to be 100% confident. You put it in front of the judges,
especially the state of the current judging. It's they've got better, but there's judges there. There was judges there that we know of over the weekend who very well respected.
Yeah,
and it's getting better, but I still think there's room for improvement in MMA judging. I think it's always going to be the case. And back to this fight, I think the judging, it could have gone either way. But upon reflection, Volkanovski rightly walked away with a fight, but it was a tale of two halves, this fight. Holloway dominantly won the first two rounds. I believe he won the third, but that is up for debate. And then the last two rounds, Volkanovski just turned it up and put it on him.
Max did end of two rounds. I had Max up completely, and then like you say, the tide did start to turn. Max was in control, and then something went, whether he had sort of used the ammunition at that point. Alex started to pick him apart, find him out, gauge him. One thing that I will say is, and it annoys me, is, and I think Dana's a bit of a dick sometimes anyway, but it just is who he is. He turned around and was made a few comments like the state of the judges in that fight and the ref in the Aldo finish and stuff like that.
See, I thought the Aldo finish was rightly.
In this Max fight, I literally seen him on a few occasions looking down at his phone. He was not even watching some of the fight. So how can he say that 3 judges got it wrong, considering one he agrees with, and the other 2 weren't that far behind? Like, it was a difference of 1 round between them all, and he was looking down. So how can you pay attention? We all do it. When we're watching certain fights, you'll be multitasking. You're on your phone, speaking to your partner, speaking to your mate, whatever. And then you'll still make a decision. But these 3 judges are literally cage side, and all they're doing, they can't hear commentary, they can't hear anything, and they're picking it based on effective striking, then effective grappling, then octagon control. So it's based on all that. So in that order. So if you look at the fight metrics, it went the way it should have gone. But if it went Max Holloway's way, I wouldn't have been fussed. I was happy either way. I agreed with Max winning 3-2, but I could see 4-1 Max. I could see 3-2 Alex. I could see 4-1. I think the 2 rounds were definitely Max, so no, I'll probably take that back. So it was either 3-2 Alex or 3-2 Max, maybe 4-1 Max. And because I'm leaning more towards a 4-1 Max, it doesn't mean that he shouldn't have lost, because Alex did great, and Alex is the champion, and you've got to physically beat the champion. You can't just go in there and just try and take it on the judge's decision.
I do think the takedowns won it for Alex over the weekend. Even though the takedowns were landed and they were great, they weren't effective. And like we were speaking off camera, for me, Max Holloway's control of the octagon won most of the rounds for him. He held the center. He had Alex moving around him. And the takedowns that Alex got, he couldn't keep Max down. So, Alexander rightly so won the fight, but I am swaying more towards the Max Holloway should have won the fight. Max Holloway should have won the fight. But yeah, like I said, I'm not going to get upset like Dana White did over Volkanovski winning. But yeah, I do think that Holloway should have won. But like you said, to take the title, you've got to beat the man.
Yeah.
You've got to outclass it. He should have made it 3 solid rounds of this is mine at the very minimum. And he looked like he took the foot off the pedal on the last round.
Yeah. I feel like you're right with that one.
In 5th gear for that 3rd, 4th and 5th round. Holloway stepped it back on that last round, and I think that potentially could have lost him the fight.
And that's shocking not shocking, that's quite strange because this is Volkanovski's 2nd 5-round fight. I don't think he's ever done it before. Might have done it in outside the UFC, but at this level. Whereas in Max's last 10, 12 fights have all been up to 5 rounds, and he's been in wars with Aldo twice. He's fought Dustin Poirier. He's fought Conor. Obviously, he's fought the who's who the last sort of 5 or 6 years, and he's proved himself. And this is why I think everyone warms towards Max, because he just keeps going, right, who's next? No, I'm not fighting that guy because I'm champion and they need to do more. It's like, well, whoever's in front of me, I fight. And that's the way it should be. And you think about it. If you go through the UFC sort of history, I cannot think from the top of my head, and there probably will be 1 or 2, but I can't think from the top of my head, the amount of fighters that have won an immediate rematch. So you go into BJ Penn, lost twice against Ben Henderson. You've got this for an example. There's multiple like this. I can't think from top of my head. Max against Aldo, for an example. They were back to back. The only sort of one that's sort of a grey area is Stipe won against DC in his immediate rematch, but it wasn't DC's immediate rematch because he fought in between that. But I think that's a dangerous thing. I think you should build yourself back up, because right now, where does Max go from here? I know he lost by split, but you can't give him a third fight. It doesn't make any sense. If you look
I think he does need to have a separate fight now. Not a separate fight, like another fight now to re-earn it. Maybe like, do you know what fight makes sense for Max next? Again, to get him ready for the rematch, Zabit or Ortega.
He's beat Ortega already, so I don't think that's a good fight. I think Ortega and Chan Sung Jung, they've been out it on social media. That should be they should fight each other next to get Volkanovski, and I do like that. Max against Zabit, I think that's a dangerous fight for him right now. I'd like someone like maybe the winner of Wednesday's, well, the day this comes out, Qatar and Ige. That maybe if Qatar wins that, you put Qatar versus Max. That's a good fight to go forward.
But I think, like you say, because for me, I think Zabit's gonna get the title, and I think Zabit's next in line for the title. But if we want Max to have Max needs to prove himself again now. He's lost 2 title fights. He needs at least one more fight to get back to the title. Unless Zabit's getting that next title shot, I think the Holloway-Zabit fight makes sense for the rankings.
Yeah, the only thing right now, I think Max is heavily backed into a corner because he moved up to lightweight, lost against Poirier, so he can't move up to lightweight. It's just because he won't want to be outside the sort of title picture. He's lost twice in the featherweight division. He's literally backed into a corner. I personally, even though he wants a good fight, you put him against someone like Qatar who he can beat, but if Qatar wins, it proves that he is a title contender. Or maybe you put him against someone like Yair Rodriguez or Jeremy Stevens or Dan Ige if Dan Ige wins, or Ryan Hall. No one wants to take on Ryan Hall. That would be a great fight to see.
Ryan Hall there at the moment, he's not even top 10.
That's because no one will fight him. If you literally go and think, no, everyone turns Ryan Hall down because how dangerous he is on the ground. So maybe he could be top 5 if people fought him.
Personally, I don't think that's going to happen. Just from, I think the top 10's very well rounded. I can see him getting in the top 10, but I can't see him beating. I think Ryan Hall against Ortega would be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I agree with that. That would be a sound fight. We could go on about
that. That probably proves that would change my opinion on Ryan Hall. I think if he beat Ortega, he's a great fighter. I'm not taking that away from him, but I don't think he's got the skill set to make a title run.
Yeah. But we could talk all day about the featherweight division because it's just like the bantamweight division. It is stacked. Alex Volkanovski is a killer, just like Petr Yan. Maybe one thing we didn't touch on the Aldo fight is, do you feel like it was a late stoppage, that it should have been finished earlier?
See, I don't think it was a late stoppage. I think it was a justified stoppage because Aldo was protecting himself, but he wasn't trying to get out of danger. So he wasn't in immediate danger of long-term injury. So I think the referee was right to give him chances to fight out of it for how long he did. So yeah, I think it was a justified stoppage. Like yourself?
I think it could have been done maybe about 10, 15 seconds earlier, but he wasn't in grave danger. He wasn't fighting back for as long as I would personally like. But he looked like he had quit by then. Like he knew 5th round he was done. He had nothing left for Petr. Moves us to main event, which building up to this fight card, we're all excited about the whole card. The card was stacked, but it was always leaning towards this. And I think 99% of people wanted to see Masvidal clean out Usman. I just wanted to see it because that's what we love about the sport. That's the sort of character we love. And before we sort of talk about the fight in general and the result, Usman is one of the best fighters I've probably ever seen. He's a lot better and more rounded than a lot of fighters that have got that style. He's a champion. He does it the right way, but he will always, in my eyes, be the B-side of a main event or the B-side of a fight. in relation to not the underdog, but in what he brings for people to buy the pay-per-view. He won't be the reason people pay for his fight. And that's one thing he's missing. I feel like the only way you can change that, like we've also before, John Jones the dick, but people will either one, pay to see him get beat, or two, pay for him because he's the GOAT. Simple as that. He's a great fighter. Whereas in Usman, he's a bit boring, but he gets a job done, and I don't mind fighters like that. Whereas I think
GSP.
Yeah, but GSP, I think the thing that GSP relate towards him was that he was a likable guy. He wasn't a dick, whereas in Usman, he's a bit of a dick. He's got so many different personalities, and he changes his mind so much, and that's what I don't like. If I would say to you now, which I know isn't you, I don't agree with you because of this, and then you go, well, yeah, but I can see it that way, or yeah, actually, no, you're right. When it's not based on fact, it's just based on my opinion. That's what he's like. I've seen him on Joe Rogan's podcast. Joe Rogan questions him and goes, no, this is a fact. And then he goes, oh, yeah, you're right. And that's what he's like. He chops and changes. I think he should keep his personality the way he is because that's who he is. It's been proven. But rather than always going, oh, I don't think Jorge deserves a title shot. I don't think Leon Edwards deserves a title shot. But if they're in line, you just agree to fucking fight him. Just turn around and go, just in that post-fight press conference, if he turned around and was like, Nate Diaz is next, Edwards is next, whoever's next, I'm going to fight them, people go, yeah, he's willing to fight everyone. I want to see him to fight that guy because he'll fight anyone. Whereas he always puts the opponent down, and then after the fight, he's like, oh, Masvidal's a great fighter. It's like, you should be saying that before, so people go, this is an even better fight, let's buy the fucking pay-per-view. He does it backwards.
I think that might be just his way of just trying to get his head in the fight, though. Like, if he can go in there thinking that I'm better than this fighter, I'm not going to give them any praise until afterwards. It's like, look at what the Diaz brothers did the exact same thing. They held actual animosity and hate towards their opponents up until after the fight. So I think maybe Usman criticizing an opponent and saying that they don't deserve the shot and then they don't deserve to be in the ring with him is his way of mentally preparing to get into that fight, to be like, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to outclass them. And that's just his way of mentally preparing for the fight.
I'd agree to disagree with you on that one. I get what you mean about getting into the fight, but I just feel like he could play it so differently. And he's the only champion on this roster where I'm not asked about him fighting. I'm more asked about who he's fighting. Like, he could be fighting fucking the most boringest fighter in the world, and I probably want them to win, or the worst fighter in the world, because something like Usman just doesn't do it for me. I just don't think that he is. I respect him as a champion, as a fighter, but I will always probably want him to get beat. Whereas in John Jones, yeah, I want him to get beat because he's a dick, but the more he wins, the more he cements my reasoning that he's a GOAT. He is the GOAT. He will always be the GOAT. And he performs. I've seen him do some great finishes, him control people. But whereas in Usman, I just think he's a very weird guy. At least Cejudo tried to be weird. He's just weird.
See, I agree with you, like, on that aspect of things. But for me, it was the first episode he did with Joe Rogan that sort of changed my opinion on him. It sort of made him a bit more likable. But I don't follow the press around these events all too closely. I just sort of follow the fighters that I'll enjoy. And because I'm a fan of both Masvidal and Usman, I tried to keep a sort of neutral headspace with it. And I like in the last podcast, I was a firm believer of Masvidal's going to shut down Usman's wrestling and knock him out, basically.
Yeah, but I think I'm not one of them people that would. Yeah, I don't think I'm one of them people that would. Obviously, because you like Usman, so there's no reason for you not to pick Usman, but you thought Masvidal was going to win. Whereas I don't like Usman, but I picked Usman because I know what he's capable of. Yeah. I will never, because I don't like someone, say they're not going to win, or I don't think they've got what they've got to win because I don't like them. Because his talent is there, and he utilised everything properly, because everything that was going to anything that Masvidal had on the table, he nullified. He made sure that his feet were sore, so when he stood on it to throw them power punches, he didn't have as much pop there because he stomped on them for 5 rounds whenever he could. He knew he wasn't going to keep Masvidal down, so he tried and then got him against the cage and controlled it for the 5 rounds. And that's just the way it has to be. And he knew when he put Masvidal on the back, he's seen it for the 30 seconds when he's on the back in the first round. Masvidal was relentless off his back, which I said on the podcast last week. That's a dangerous side to be in against him. You want him against the cage where he's nullified.
No, definitely. And like we said, this performance from Usman, fair play to Masvidal, 6 days notice. Like, for me, Masvidal performed brilliantly. And you could see the difference now in the level of fight camp, where Masvidal's conditioning didn't quite take him to the championship rounds.
Yeah.
But his heart and his determination got him through it. And even that last round, he was still throwing some haymakers that, if they would have connected, it would have been lights out.
Yeah, if you go through Usman's record right now of who he's beat, and I mean, is 4 out of his last 5 out of his last 6 fights have all been by decision, and then he had that Colby 5-round finish last time. But he's got the long game inside him. Dos Anjos, Mayo, Woodley, Covington, Masvidal.
They're all dangerous people as well. Like,
this puts him in the top 3 or 4 welterweights of all time. I feel like the welterweight division is sort of the history division of the UFC because of like you had obviously Matt and then Matt Hamill and then
GSP. You had like I said, the histories of the sport is in that division.
Yeah, it's this and the light heavyweight. Anyway, but I've always liked the welterweights because of who's fought in it. Even like BJ Penn being in there and Frank Trigg and all them. It's just the who's who has been in there, and the last few years have been looking.
Paul Daly snuff on GSP. Oh, Koscheck, sorry.
I know what you meant.
That was. It's just history of the sport is in this welterweight division.
I enjoyed this fight though, even though it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. It's the way I predicted it would go. So I was 5 out of 5 on the main card, 11 out of 13 overall. It's annoying because if they got the other 2 fights right, it would have been a few grand in my pocket because I put the bet on. But one of them, I think it's very hard in this sport to predict a full card. I always try and predict finishes as well. I predicted all these fights to finish by decision. So 3 out of 5 did. 1 went in the 5th round, and Page got walked through. But overall, I enjoyed it. It was a great for the first Fight Island. It didn't really feel any different compared to the Apex or when it was in Florida last month or the month before. I enjoy it without a crowd because you can hear a lot more things. And I enjoy the inner workings of coaches. Like, what fight was it now where the coach came in and slapped his... Was it on one of the main cards?
It might have been bad.
Let me quickly go through it. It might have been on the Muslim Salikov fight.
Was it?
It might have been. One of the coaches actually came in and slapped his guy and was like, "Wake up, fight!" And I was like, "Wow."
Right. That's it. I think for me, corner of the night has got to go to Rose though.
It was Bogatov. Sorry, it was when Bogatov got lit up by that Santos in the 2nd round and nearly got finished. Yeah. So go on. Sorry, Rose was your performance.
Yeah, corner of the night for me has got to be Rose's. Like, just the way they were delivering information, and you can see the difference it made to her. And I think the more mental health becomes a subject that's spoken about within the sport, I think the approach that I think they can take a lot from Rose's corner and Rose's coaching staff to apply to a lot of other fighters. And I think there's going to be a lot of lessons learned and taught over these next year or two, especially with lockdown happening and especially with training being very disrupted. And a lot of, not just fighters, but competitors and just casual people that train use this sport as support for their mental health. I think there's going to be a lot to sort of take away from it. And using Rose's corner as an example, and it's got me excited about what's to come for the future.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think like the card and Rose's performance highlighted a few things. there's a lot of fighters out there that were itching to get out, and it was mentally getting to them what wanted to get out. And I think Rose proved what you can do, because she would have been quite uncomfortable going over to Abu Dhabi to fight. She was supposed to fight, was it a month ago, but she had 2 losses in her family from COVID, so that probably affected her as well. But obviously, you're like me, we've got a lot of friends that are over fighting midweek, and seeing all the coaches that we work with, like Danny Mitchell and Carl Prince and all them, and even the guys in the back. Like we've got the judges that are our friends, like Ben Cartledge and David Leatherbear, and the commission like Adam Ellis and Lee, Brian's friend, Lee Doyle, and Rich Cadden from Choke the Academy. They're all out there, and you can see everything on social media, and it looks cool as hell. And I've spoke to a couple of them, and it's cool, but they're all locked down still, even though they're allowed out. They're all in a certain area where even police can't go past. It's completely locked down. I'm still excited for Wednesday night's card, which will be tonight when this comes out. We reviewed that on Friday, so go back. We reviewed me, Simon, Brian, and Abe all reviewed that. But is there any fights that you're looking forward to for highlighting right now?
Do you know what? Obviously the Qatar and Ike fight I'm looking forward to, but I'm looking forward to seeing Modestas and Jack Shaw go out there, especially after talking to them and sort of getting to know them a bit more through the podcast. I think I'm looking forward to watching them two get out there, and the rest of the English fighters. Like, it's a big time for UK MMA, and I'm excited to see how everyone does coming from here.
Definitely. Well, we'll end on that. We've got a couple of good guests coming on. We've got a good friend in Ben Royal that we'll hopefully do soon, who's now based out in Thailand. He's now a black belt, professional fighter. The guy was a beast when he left the UK. Like, wow, what he's doing now is crazy. So we'll get him on there. We're working on some other guests, which we'll announce in due course. But yeah, it's been great. Simon, any last words?
Thank you for listening, and make sure you go back and watch and listen to everyone else's podcast that are fighting tonight or Wednesday, depending on when you listen to it.
Yeah. So this has been a great event, great weekend. Loads more sport we could talk about, but obviously we tried to highlight what we know the listeners like at the minute. We'll be back at the end of the week, but stay safe, guys, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Peace.